They say karma has perfect timing. Mine wore red bottoms and carried a termination letter. When my husband spit in my face at that Christmas party, he had no idea I wasn't just some trophy wife he could discard. I owned everything his mistress depended on. Watch what happened next. Before we dive into how I made him regret ever crossing me, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Trust me, you won't want to miss a single second of this story. And stick around until the end, because the final twist? Chef's kiss. Now let me take you back to where it all started. My name is Maria Monroe, and for 8 years, I thought I had the perfect marriage. You know the kind I'm talking about. The kind where you post pictures on social media, and everybody comments with heart eyes and praise hands. Beautiful home in the suburbs, luxury cars in the driveway, exotic vacations twice a year. Derek and I looked like we had it all figured out. But here's the thing about perfect. It's usually just really good packaging, hiding something broken inside. I'm 38 years old, and I've worked my tail off to get where I am today. Started from the bottom, put myself through business school, climbed every corporate ladder until I decided to build my own. Monroe Industries is my baby. It's a tech consulting firm that I built from nothing into a multi-million-dollar operation. We've got over 200 employees now, contracts with some of the biggest companies in the country, and a reputation for excellence that I guard like my life depends on it. Because in a way, it does. But here's the interesting part. In my personal life, I kept things low-key. When I met Derek at a charity event 9 years ago, I introduced myself as just Maria. Not CEO Maria Monroe, just Maria who works in tech. He was charming, attentive, and seemed to love me for me. We got married a year later, and I never felt the need to broadcast my position. My friends knew, of course, but Derek. He knew I was successful, knew I made good money, but I don't think he ever really understood the scope of what I'd built. And honestly, I liked it that way. I wanted to be loved for who I was, not what I had. Things were good for a long time. Really good. We had our rhythm, you know? But then about 6 months ago, things started to shift. It was subtle at first. Derek started working late more often. His phone became his best friend, always face down on the table, always within arm's reach. He became distant, distracted. When I'd ask him about his day, he'd give me one-word answers and change the subject. The man who used to wrap his arms around me the moment he walked through the door started going straight to the shower instead. I'm not stupid. I know the signs. But I also know that sometimes paranoia can destroy a good thing faster than actual betrayal. So I tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was stressed about work. Maybe he was going through something he wasn't ready to talk about. I threw myself into my company instead, telling myself that if I just gave him space, whatever was bothering him would resolve itself. Around November, we had our annual holiday party coming up. Every year, Monroe Industries throws this massive Christmas gala for all our employees. It's black tie, open bar, the whole 9 yards. I believe in taking care of the people who take care of my business. And this party is my way of showing appreciation. I was reviewing the guest list and employee files, making sure all the bonuses were approved, when I came across a new hire in our marketing department. Ashley Bennett, 26 years old, joined the company about 7 months ago. Her file showed decent performance, nothing spectacular, but good enough. I approved her bonus, along with everyone else's, and didn't think twice about it. I didn't think twice about the fact that 7 months ago was exactly when Derek started acting strange. Funny how the universe works, isn't it? The night of the party finally arrived. I spent hours getting ready. And let me tell you, I looked good. I wore this stunning gold gown that hugged every curve, had my hair done, makeup flawless. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a woman who had built an empire, a woman who deserved respect. Derek seemed nervous the whole time we were getting ready, kept checking his phone, asking what time we needed to leave. I chalked it up to him not being comfortable at corporate events. He'd always been more of a casual guy. We arrived at the venue, and it was absolutely beautiful. My team had outdone themselves with the decorations, ice sculptures, champagne towers, a live band. My employees were there with their partners, everyone dressed to the nines, laughing and enjoying themselves. This was what I'd built, not just a company, but a family. I made my rounds, greeting everyone, making small talk. At these events, I was fully Maria Monroe, CEO. My employees knew exactly who I was. But Derek, he wandered off pretty quickly, said he was going to grab a drink. About an hour into the party, I noticed Derek was nowhere to be found. I walked around, smiling and chatting with my staff, until I spotted him in a corner near the back. And he wasn't alone. He was standing way too close to a young woman in a red dress, his hand on her lower back, leaning in to whisper something in her ear. The way she laughed, the way she touched his arm, it was intimate, familiar. And then I recognized her from her employee photo, Ashley Bennett. My heart dropped into my stomach, but I kept my composure. Years of leading a company teaches you how to keep a poker face, even when everything inside you is screaming. I walked over slowly, my heels clicking on the marble floor. As I got closer, I could see the panic starting to register on Ashley's face. She knew who I was. Every employee at this party knew who I was. But Derek, he had no idea his wife was the woman signing Ashley's paychecks. I approached them with a smile. "Hi there. I don't think we've been properly introduced. I'm Maria Monroe." I extended my hand to Ashley. The color drained from her face. Her hand was shaking when she shook mine. Derek just stood there, frozen, his eyes darting between us. I could see the wheels turning in his head, trying to figure out how to play this. "You know this employee, Derek?" I asked calmly, my voice sweet as honey. That's when he made his choice. Instead of coming clean, instead of showing even an ounce of dignity, he went on the attack. He started raising his voice, accusing me of following him, of being jealous and insecure. Said I was embarrassing him at a work function. The irony wasn't lost on me, but I stayed quiet. Let him dig his hole deeper. Ashley was trying to calm him down, pulling on his arm, whispering frantically. But Derek was drunk, and he was cornered, and men like that become dangerous. He started saying horrible things, called me controlling, called me cold, said I was the reason he needed to find warmth somewhere else. My employees were starting to stare. The music seemed to fade into the background. Everything felt like it was moving in slow motion. And then it happened. Derek looked me dead in the eye, and he spit in my face, right there, in front of 200 of my employees, in the middle of the party I'd organized, in the company I'd built. Spit in my face. The room went completely silent. Someone gasped. I could feel every eye on me. Security started moving toward us. Ashley had her hand over her mouth, looking absolutely horrified. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't slap him, though God knows I wanted to. I pulled a napkin from a nearby table and slowly wiped my face. I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw a stranger. "Derek," I said quietly, "I think you should leave." My voice didn't shake. It was calm, professional, cold as ice. He laughed, actually laughed, grabbed Ashley's hand and said, "Gladly. I'm done with this marriage anyway." They walked out together, her stumbling in her heels, trying to keep up with him. The room was still silent, everyone watching me, waiting to see what I would do. I took a deep breath, walked to the microphone, and gave a brief speech thanking everyone for their hard work this year. I ended the party gracefully, smiled until the last person left, and then I went home to my empty house and finally let myself feel everything. That was Friday night. By Monday morning, I was back in CEO mode. I called my HR director and head of legal into my office. First thing, I requested a full investigation into Ashley Bennett's hiring and workplace conduct. I wanted to know everything. Who referred her, how she got through the interview process, what her performance reviews actually looked like beyond the surface-level reports I'd seen. The results came back within 2 days, and oh, it was beautiful. Ashley had lied on her resume. Her previous work experience was exaggerated. Her degree was from a school she'd barely attended. And guess who had walked her application personally to HR? One of Derek's old college buddies who worked in our recruiting department. Derek had gotten her the job. The investigation also uncovered that Ashley had been submitting false expense reports, small amounts, nothing that would trigger immediate red flags. But over 7 months, it added up to several $1,000s of company money spent on personal items. While my legal team was handling that, I'd hired a private investigator to look into Derek and Ashley's relationship. The report that landed on my desk made me physically sick. They'd been together for 7 months, hotel rooms, weekend trips, expensive dinners, all paid for with money Derek had access to from our joint accounts. My money. Ashley had been bragging to some of her co-workers about her rich boyfriend who was going to leave his wife for her. Several employees confirmed they knew Derek was married, but thought Ashley didn't know. Turns out, she absolutely knew. She just didn't care. I met with my divorce attorney that same week. She reviewed our prenup, the one Derek had signed without really reading, because he'd been so in love and so eager to get married. The prenup I'd insisted on because I'd built my company before meeting him, and I wasn't going to risk losing it. According to the agreement, Derek was entitled to almost nothing. The house was in my name only. The cars were in my name. My business was protected. He'd get a small settlement, nothing more. My attorney also discovered something interesting. Derek had been moving money from our joint accounts into a private account I didn't know about. He'd been planning this, planning to leave me, planning to take whatever he could. He just didn't know there wasn't much he could legally take. Then Derek made the mistake of trying to take control. He started sending me aggressive text messages, told me to pack my things and get out of his house, threatened to ruin my reputation, to tell everyone what a terrible wife I'd been. I didn't respond to a single message. Instead, I had the locks changed on the house, all of them. When Derek showed up 2 days later with Ashley in tow, trying to use his old key, he found it didn't work. My security team, yes, I have a security team, politely but firmly turned them away. The look on his face when he realized he had no power here was almost worth everything. The following Monday, I called Ashley into my office. She came in with this cocky attitude, like she thought Derek somehow had pull here, like she thought she was untouchable. I laid out everything my investigation had uncovered, the fraudulent resume, the fake expense reports, the policy violations. I watched her face change as reality set in. Derek couldn't protect her. He never could, because he had no idea his wife was the one in charge. Her termination was immediate. Security escorted her out of the building with a box of her belongings, past all her co-workers who'd watched her parade around like she was special. I could hear her on the phone in the hallway, crying, calling Derek in a panic. That was satisfying in a way I can't fully describe. About 2 hours later, Derek stormed into the Monroe Industries building. He marched up to the reception desk and demanded to see whoever is in charge. He was going to give them a piece of his mind about how they'd treated Ashley. The receptionist, bless her, kept a straight face and said, "Mrs. Monroe is expecting you." I'd told her he might show up. The confusion on Derek's face was priceless. He thought she meant someone else, some other Mrs. Monroe. Security escorted him up to the executive floor, the entire elevator ride. He was apparently muttering about how he was going to make someone pay, how his wife knew important people, and she'd hear about this. The doors opened, and they walked him down the hallway past offices with my name on plaques and awards, past photos of me at industry conferences, me shaking hands with senators and CEOs. His steps started to slow. I could see it through the glass walls of my office. The moment reality started to creep in, he walked into my office, and I was sitting behind my desk, the city skyline stretching out behind me through floor-to-ceiling windows. I watched his face go through every emotion: confusion, shock, disbelief, horror, understanding. "Hi, Derek," I said calmly. "I believe we need to talk. He stood there, mouth opening and closing, like a fish out of water. I let him process it, let him understand that his wife wasn't just some woman who worked in tech. His wife owned Monroe Industries. His wife had been signing Ashley's paychecks. His wife had been paying for those hotel rooms and dinners with money from accounts he thought he was being clever accessing. All of it was mine. He tried to recover, started making excuses, saying it wasn't what it looked like, that Ashley had manipulated him. I didn't let him finish. I slid divorce papers across my desk. "Sign these," I said. "Not a request, a statement." He picked them up with shaking hands and started reading. I watched him realize he was getting nothing. The house he'd told me to leave? Mine. The cars he drove? Mine. The lifestyle he'd become accustomed to? All mine. And it was all going away. "Ashley's been calling you, hasn't she?" I asked. Probably frantic. Probably wondering how you're going to fix this. His face told me everything. She had been calling. And he was realizing that the woman who'd wanted him for his money had just discovered he didn't have any. It was my money. It had always been my money. I watched him try calling her right there in my office. She didn't answer. He tried again. Nothing. The woman who'd been so eager to destroy my marriage had already moved on to her next target. But I wasn't done. I had one more card to play. "Derek, there's something else you should know. I'm pressing charges for identity theft. You used my information to open credit cards in my name for Ashley. Did you think I wouldn't find out?" The color completely drained from his face. "That's fraud, Derek. That's a crime. So not only are you losing everything in the divorce, you're also going to have some legal troubles to deal with." He started begging then, actually got down on his knees in my office and begged, cried about how sorry he was, how he'd made a mistake, how Ashley had seduced him, asked if we could go to counseling, start over. I looked at this man who had spit in my face in front of my employees, who had stolen from me, who had humiliated me, and I felt nothing, no love, no hate, nothing. "Security will escort you out," I said, and pressed the button on my desk. As they walked him out, he was screaming my name, promising to change, threatening to fight me in court. But we both knew he had no leg to stand on. I watched from my office window as security put him in his car and sent him on his way, and I went back to work. 6 months have passed since that night. The divorce was finalized 3 months ago. Derek got exactly what the prenup entitled him to, barely enough to put a deposit on a small apartment. Last I heard, he's working some retail job, living with his brother across town. Ashley moved to another city, blocked his number, and from what I understand, she's already engaged to some other guy she convinced has money. Derek tried to reach out a few times, pathetic emails about how he'd lost everything. I never responded. He didn't lose everything. He never had anything to lose. It was all mine to begin with. My company just landed the biggest contract in our history. I've been dating again, taking my time, enjoying my freedom. I'm happy, genuinely, deeply happy. And I learned something valuable through all of this. I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't some elaborate scheme. It's simply removing access to you. It's letting someone discover that everything they took for granted was actually a privilege they didn't deserve. Derek thought I was just a trophy wife he could discard when someone younger came along. He thought he held the power in our relationship because that's what society told him. A man should be the provider, the one in control. He never stopped to ask questions, never wondered why I was so relaxed about money, why I never stressed about bills, why I could afford the lifestyle we had. He just assumed it was his right. So that's how the man who spit in my face ended up losing everything he thought he had. The look on Derek's face when he realized I held all the cards? Priceless. Here's what I learned. Never underestimate a quiet woman who keeps her power moves private. Now, if this story gave you the satisfaction I know you needed, smash that like button. Drop a comment telling me what you would have done in my situation. Subscribe for more stories where karma doesn't just knock, she kicks the door down. And remember, they'll underestimate you until the moment you show them exactly who you are. Trust me, that moment, worth the wait. I'll see you in the next one.